Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Wallet Wisdom, a podcast presented by Lake Michigan Credit Union. If you're new to the podcast or have been listening for a while now, Wallet Wisdom is designed around breaking down the ins and outs of financial aspects, as well as bring answers to some of banking's more confusing or complex questions. I'm one of your hosts, Brett. Sharing the mic with me, my super talented co-host, and my sister from another mother, Lo. How do you do?
Good. How are you?
Good to see you.
Good. Always good to see you. I always feel bad because you give me these great compliments, but I never get to introduce you. So sometime we might have to just like flip that around
We'll
so
have
I
to,
can
yeah.
call you nice things too.
Well, thank you. I
You're
appreciate
pretty cool,
that.
I suppose.
Well, I'll tell you, we are so excited for listeners to be able to tune in and to listen to today's podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, but before we get into it, spring is in the air.
It is. It has come and gone a couple of times, but hopefully it's going to start coming more solidly.
Yeah, I feel the warm weather is on the horizon.
Taste it.
I know, right?
Smell it. Right?
Fingers crossed. That's exactly right.
And it's always fun when we get two for the price of one in terms of guests.
I know.
So.
We are so excited. In fact, today's episode is actually part one of a two-part episode that we are so excited to be able to bring you. As you listeners have listened for a while, there's times where we're like, man, there's just so much to talk about.
It's hard to cut it off.
Well, and I'll tell you, today's episode is not going to lie. It is. There's a lot to get into because it's all about first-time home buying.
Which is a very nerve-wracking thing.
It is.
It's one of those things that you grow up not thinking about what went into buying this house, right?
Yeah.
But then you get there and you're like, oh, there's like preparing.
What do I do?
What's a credit score? Like, how do I do this? So
Exactly.
It's
So
never too early to start thinking
well,
about
it's probably a good idea that if we've got two episodes, we bring in two experts from LMCU.
Yes.
We've got in the studio today, Vice President of Mortgage Production at LMCU, Meg Dunn. Thank you for joining us.
Not a stranger to the show.
Not a stranger to the show at all.
Well, thank you for having me back.
Absolutely.
It's good to see you guys.
And then also joining us is Janice Hurt, our mortgage support manager as well. So thank you both for bringing your leadership and your talents to the Wallet Wisdom podcast today.
I'm happy to be here.
Good. Oh, man. Well, there's so much to cover. And I know that, I have a bad habit of getting on a tangent, but I want to just jump right in because there's so much that we can cover. And I think listeners are hopefully excited to hear about this. So I think, the first thing is, like we were just saying, the mortgage industry and buying a home can sometimes, for someone their first time, feel like a daunting task, or is it even, am I ready to buy a home yet? Am I old enough to buy a home? Do I have enough money? And there's all these questions. And I think, unfortunately for us and listeners, we get our information from others that may not be the experts. So,
Well, and it's changed so drastically,
It has.
even in the last year, right?
Right,
So
right.
we hear all these things, like my grandparents cannot give me advice on these things because it's
No.
an entirely different environment.
Yeah.
So I think it is ever important to continuously talk about it every single year because
Yes.
that market changes
it
constantly.
does. It does. And we've seen that over the last couple of years now. But
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, Lo, you can't get it from your grandparents. I would even say try to get information from your parents might even be a little bit different.
Maybe your big brother,
Yeah.
maybe, or sister,
Yes,
obviously, but yeah.
And that usually centers around like down payments
Right.
and, what your grandparents or your parents think you needed to save. And sometimes that's what is keeping some people from thinking they're ready.
Yeah.
Because all my parents
Yeah.
said I'm going to need this much. I don't have anywhere close to that amount
Right.
of money saved yet. So
Right.
that's not even a possibility for me. So,
Yeah, that's so true.
To your point, Brett, it's all about education and just helping our members and getting the information out there
Yeah.
so that they know, homeownership is very much, if you're paying rent, a lot of rents these days, my gosh, they're so expensive.
Oh my goodness, you're not kidding.
Yeah.
And that's why we bring experts like the two of you right into their phones, their cars, their homes, so that you can explain all of this to
Yeah.
them. So
Well, and I think for really what starts the conversation for someone is, do I have enough money? Do I have the right budget? And what do I need to kind of think about when I'm thinking about buying my first home? So, when it comes to that side of it and the budgeting standpoint, what are maybe some things that those that are listening right now that are thinking about buying their first home that maybe should be considering, or, maybe check a few boxes to realize I maybe am more qualified to buy a house than I realize, So yeah, what are some of those kinds of things that are out there?
Sure. Well, I think it's hard to say exact. I mean, there's certain boxes that need to be checked, but to say that it's the same requirement for everybody,
Right.
it's going to be completely different, right? So that's where, obviously you want to talk to an expert. You want to sit down and say, hey, here's my scenario. Here are my circumstances. What does it look like for me? But some of those things to consider are, down payment, right? Do you have money saved away? Do you have reserves? What's your income? Is your income stable? Is it consistent?
Sure.
There's a lot of things that we look at with regards to qualifying for a mortgage, right? We're going to look and say, can you afford this house payment? What other payments do you have? You've got your car payment. You might have your credit card payment, your revolving debt, and there's those things, right? And those are the things that your mortgage lender is going to use to qualify you. But at the end of the day, you know that you need more disposable income after that, right? You don't want to be what they call house poor.
There's still groceries, medical bills, all that.
Right, and you have eggs and gas.
Eggs, big on eggs.
Exactly. So there's those things to consider. Do you like to travel?
Yeah.
Do you like to shop? So you have to play that in.
That's a good point.
And to know, so you don't end up house poor. You don't
Right.
end up all your money going to that. So I think it really goes to, you have to sit down and say, okay, what am I comfortable with? How much do I want to spend? Which typically most of the folks that we're working with are already spending money on rent.
They might even go down in a monthly payment.
That's a good
100%.
point.
It is absolutely
That's such a good
possible.
point.
And then, I think that then goes into, where your down payment is going to come from and how much of a down payment that you need.
Sure.
And we mentioned that before. You ask some parents and they'll say, oh, well, you need 20%. You absolutely have to have 20% down. Well, no, you do not.
Yeah.
And, we have programs at Lake Michigan that could be anywhere from 3%
Sure.
to 5%, and in some cases, even 0.
No kidding.
And
Yeah.
term then also can play into that too, right?
Yeah. I mean, whether or not 30-year term, right? It's going to get you your lowest possible payment.
Yeah.
You don't plan on being there for a while, ARMS might be the right thing. It might get you a lower interest rate. But really, what it really comes down to, so many people right now are focused on what are interest rates doing? What
Yeah.
are interest rates doing? But really, it's not about interest rate.
Sure.
It's about how much you can afford and what are you comfortable with.
Yeah.
I
that's
heard
a good way
somebody
to put
use
it.
this phrase one time, and it was, you marry the house and you date the rate.
I love that.
I just heard that recently too.
That's
Yeah.
a good one.
It is
Yeah.
a good one.
Because-
And break that down a little for us so that, what does that kind of equate to for that in mortgage? Because that makes a lot of sense.
Well, I just look at it as to say, okay, this house, I'm in love with this house. And this house is, let's just say it's $250,000, and my mortgage payment's going to be $1,600.
Sure.
Throwing out a number.
Sure.
Am I comfortable with that $1,600 because I love this house? I am. Now, if I told you that $1,600 payment, does it matter to you what the rate is? If you're comfortable with the $1,600,
Right.
Yeah.
if it's
that's a good
6,
point.
or if it's 7, or if it's 4.
Yeah. Well, and when you think
As
about
long
it
as
too,
that payment's that payment.
Right. As long as the
Yeah.
payment's that payment and you do a 30-year fixed or a fixed rate mortgage, it's going to be. So I think that's where you're marrying the house. That's your long term.
Sure.
You're dating the rate, and, refinancing, rates are going to fluctuate. There's always that opportunity.
That's a great way to put it. Yeah, because when you think about refinancing, we've done podcast episodes on that as well for listeners that maybe in that category want to learn a little bit about that. Check those episodes out. But knowing that there's options down the road, that you're not locking into a 30-year commitment at that rate, that there are going to be options down the road that you can refinance and look at other ways when the markets shift and change. We saw that in the last couple of years, and
100%.
huge for refinancing. So,
And we did a whole
yeah.
episode on ARMs, or adjustable rate mortgages. So
Yeah.
if you're listening now and you're kind of curious what that is, it has changed drastically. That is definitely something, an advice that you don't want to get from your parents or grandparents, because ARMs were not a good thing back
Sure,
then.
sure.
And nowadays it might be a really good option depending on how long you want to stay in that home.
Absolutely.
So,
And we're going to get into that in our next episode as well, in part 2, where we kind of dive into knowing more of the different loan options as well. And ARMs absolutely are one of those. But I know you were talking about down payments.
Yes.
And I know that you were saying it can kind of vary. And I think when we get into also knowing there are different loan types out there, like conventional or an FHA, those have some down payment requirements that come along with it too. So knowing the right option that fits your budget, I love that conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting too. And I think Janice was going to share with us a little bit about those down payments and, even the source of where some of those can come from.
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Gifts have come a long way. It used to be that where they had to have a blood relationship and, to be the blood family member. And now it's completely different. Recently, the guidelines were actually expanded to allow a non-relative that has a familial relationship
Yeah.
to be a donor as well as a domestic partner. a relative of a domestic partner, godparent. So it's really expanded compared to what it used to be.
Is there a threshold amount that's considered a gift? So if they give me $1,000, do I have to proclaim that as a gift, or is there like a threshold we're looking to meet for something like that?
The gift can really be for any amount.
Okay.
You can't use a gift if you're purchasing an investment property, but since we're talking about first-time home buyers, generally that's a primary residence.
Right.
But yeah, the gift can really be for any amount as long as it's an eligible gift owner. And yeah, for the most part, yeah.
That's really interesting.
So reach out to those family members.
That's right.
How much do you love me?
Yes.
Right.
I'll have you for dinner every Sunday if.
Right, right. No kidding. Well, and you think about when a lot of couples that are looking for their first home are just getting married as well. So maybe some of those gifts that you're getting when you're getting married could just be a better gift to say, hey, would you contribute to our house
I've
fund?
actually
You don't
seen
need a
people do
waffle
that.
maker.
A lot of people
Have you
I've
seen
seen
that?
people do that where, maybe they are folks that have been, maybe they're getting old, married later.
Sure.
They have dishes, they have appliances, all that kind of stuff. And so on their registry, they just say, we'd love to buy a house. Would
Sure.
you please consider, gifting towards, and that's a different kind of gift.
Yeah.
But would you consider,
Fascinating.
your gift being monetary that we would put towards a down
I've seen
payment?
QR codes on the table that are like scan here to donate
Oh,
for
wow.
house
Oh,
or for
man.
travel. Or
that's a
it's
great
super
idea.
fun, right?
That is.
Yeah, you
Can
get your
I
guests a
have
little
an
tipsy?
anniversary party and put that?
That's right. They're already taking selfies. They're taking pictures of the
Exactly.
QR codes.
Yeah, get them tipsy all of a sudden at 1,000, 100 becomes 1,000.
That's right.
See?
Man.
Try arguing with that. Yeah.
Oh, well, I think that really a great point in knowing what you want to pay is different than what you can afford sometimes too. I know, going through the process myself the first time, you can sometimes find you get approved for more than maybe what you're comfortable spending. So again, the conversation around knowing what your options are, knowing what you're comfortable with, and then also having the option for families and gifts, that's unbelievable. Because like you were saying too, it wasn't always that way. It was a much lower, and it was really strictly, enforced in certain ways.
Absolutely.
But I think we're seeing that change, which is, like you said, it's always changing. Every year there's something a little new, and you got to stay on your toes.
I feel like it's hard to have this first step into this process without knowing what you're already spending. So for people that aren't aware of what is coming in and out of their accounts, would you say it's a good start to just start tracking? Start figuring out how much do you spend each month on groceries? How much do you spend going out? So that they are able to kind of lay that out. Is that something that you would recommend?
A budget, yeah.
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 Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's
Great
hard,
thing, yeah.
right? It's very hard, but absolutely, because you want to know, this is what's going to my rent. Okay, I'm comfortable with that. These are the set payments, right? These are what I know are going to be consistent every month. But then, do I want to be cutting it to the wire every month where I'm like, can't buy that last Starbucks because I'm that close. No, you have to,
I think there's a lot of
Yeah.
people that they only know the amount that comes on their paycheck, and that's the only set amount that they are aware of.
Yeah.
And so I think if I go in thinking about a first payment, that's a dangerous thing to be playing with. It's just that amount.
Well, and the other thing too that I know does take into account, and I know we've done a lot of different episodes as well about credit scores and ways you can boost your credit score, but I know that your credit score does take into account when looking at when you're trying to get the best rates as possible, but there are, like we've already said, a lot of different options out there for people in different financial kind of walks where maybe their credit score is really good or maybe it's not, but there are some really great programs that we offer. But maybe a little information about what a credit score does for a buyer and why that may still be an important thing.
Yeah, a credit score can affect your down payment. It affects your rate, not only on your mortgage, but sometimes your insurance and other things as well. So it's very important to build a good credit score. And I appreciate the people who like to pay cash and not use credit, but that actually hurts them in the long run when it comes time to get a mortgage. So you have to use credit to build credit.
Yeah.
So it's even if it's getting a credit card and paying on time for a few months and really, not charging it to the max, but just using credit and credit responsibly, because that really does show your lender to how you are able to manage debt.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's really important.
We talk
very
about
true.
what those 3 C's, right? We're talking about the character of the member, and that really goes towards it. It says, you know how to pay on time, and you pay the right amount, and you're responsible with that. So definitely.
Yeah, I think a great example of that is Janice said, you've got to build it.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember having a discussion with both of my sons when they were seniors in college.
Sure.
Not that they were ready to go out and buy a home, but I wanted them off my payroll.
Yeah.
Right? So
Purse strings
we needed
cut.
them to start building some credit. And
Yeah.
so I said to them, your senior year, we're going to open your credit card.
Mm-hmm.
And, I helped pay their groceries at that time, like their
Sure.
food bill.
Yeah.
I'm like, you're going to put the groceries, just groceries, on this credit card.
Yeah.
And then when I send you're going to pay it. And they set it up on auto pay, right? So that it just happened. And
Yeah.
that helps.
What a gift.
yeah.
You need
Absolutely.
to do that because
That's right.
otherwise you get to be, however old, and they're like, well, I've been paying my rent. Well, that doesn't show up on a credit report.
Right.
And I've been paying my Verizon bill.
Yeah.
That doesn't show up on a credit. I pay my utilities. That doesn't show up on a credit report. So you need to start establishing those things that are going to count.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got stuck that way. My husband and I, we were very young. We got married at 21. And so my husband and I were both still in school, and he has a work study program, doesn't count as income. And I'm the main breadwinner, but I don't have credit. And so it was this quick, okay, what can we quick get me? How can I start making these payments? And it was based solely on me. And I went from 0 credit to having to build that as fast as I could because we had a house we wanted. So, but we got it. So,
No,
but
it's
there
true.
was someone like
And I think
Meg
to
to coach.
And Janice always does a great job when we have our first-time homebuyer seminars of explaining like what goes into credit, because I don't think people understand.
Yeah.
It's not just about paying your bills on time or having 0 balances on credit cards. I think like that would probably be some good information to share.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. In fact, I was going to even ask too. There's kind of there is such a thing as good credit and bad credit, and understanding. Because I know one of the biggest questions that I hear from younger first-time homebuyers that are still maybe just getting out of college and they've got college tuition and they're paying their student loans. Understanding if you've got student loans, is that a bad credit or is that a good credit, and how does that affect in that? Because I know for some they're like, oh, I got a lot of money I owe to my student loans, and I probably can't qualify for a home because I have so much debt to that. So can you help me understand how that credit score and even just understanding what maybe is good credit and maybe not so good credit?
So a poor credit score would be like 400, would
Sure.
be considered pretty low. A high credit score would be 780 plus. 800 is considered a very high credit score. I think kind of middle range is usually 700, 720 or better. But you're right, the installment debt versus revolving credit card debt, that can all make a difference. But about 35% of your credit score is just paying your bills on time. 30% is how much money you owe. So, for example, if you have 2 or 3 credit cards and the limits all add up to say $45,000 and you owe $44,000, that's going to affect your credit
Yeah.
score
No, that's-
quite a
yeah.
bit. And then 15% is your length of credit history. So the mistake that I have made here is once I would pay off a credit card, I would close it out. Well, that is, if I've had that credit card a long time, that's actually going to hurt my credit history because now that reporting trade line is no longer affecting my credit score because it's closed.
Sure.
So it's important to keep those open. And then 10% is how many credit inquiries. So if you're always shopping for credit and always having people run your credit and
Every store you go
every time you're in
into.
line, it's
And I tell
exactly.
you, they're so good at the register.
You'll save
Isn't that-
10% though.
That's right.
Absolutely. But if you're doing that constantly and everybody's always pulling your credit, that's going to drag your score down as well. Then the other 10% is the factors like revolving debt versus installment debt versus a mortgage. So a mortgage, for example, is going to impact your credit score quite a bit more than a revolving credit card, for example.
Would you say it's better to have, a solid 5-6 things than 15 out there that you are not paying on because they're just open and they're just sitting there? But having these like core group, would you say that's probably more ideal?
I would.
Yeah.
I would. Yeah. And it's okay to have multiple, like
Right.
several as well, even if you're not using them. Because they're still reporting, so that's good. It's
But
still
it's only
helping
get-
with your age of credit
Right.
and all that.
But 10, 15 department store cards with a possible limit of 10,000, that starts to add up too. Because then we have to look at, they could go run those all up tomorrow, and right, they could have $100,000 in debt tomorrow. So absolutely.
Go backpacking in some exotic place. Well, along those same lines, there's so much information, and we're learning so much already, and hopefully listeners, you too. But there's an aspect that you were saying about like building it, and similar to building it, it's also like building out that team. Getting in touch with some experts that can really help you understand what you guys are helping us understand, because everyone's situation is unique. There is, no one size fits all mortgage.
Absolutely.
And so being able to find the right people to partner with to get you that information, because then, there's the next step of how do I even then start that process? So, finding the right team and maybe, how do I get qualified to even do that? So what does that kind of look like as a whole?
And there is never, I always tell people, there's never too early to start trying to assemble that team.
Sure.
Because loan officers, you can meet with a loan officer even if you're not planning on building or buying for another year,
Sure.
2 years. If you just need to talk to someone and say, what does this look like? How much down payment? If I had this, what would it mean? It's never too soon to start that process. But you're absolutely right. Having a good loan officer who is going to examine, your situation and look at all the different programs and say, okay, this is what I think fits your needs. Right? You have to learn about that person. Are they a veteran?
Sure.
Are they, dual income home, single income? What kind of employment do they have? What area are they looking? All those different things. You have to learn about the person before you can kind of assemble what is the right
It's a
options for
holistic
them.
thing, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. And then on top of that, I would say another piece of having the whole team is finding a great realtor. And, that's key as well, especially in these markets that we've been having the past couple of years where inventory is very low. You really need somebody that is out there looking, knows what you're looking for, can zero in on the areas that you're interested in. Just thinking that you're going to drive around and catch an open house and find
Yeah, it might have been that way 10
happen.
years ago, but it is not that way today.
And there's lots of ways to find
Yeah.
realtors. I think that if you connect with a loan officer, many of them have wonderful partnerships with realtors, and they can connect you and say, this is somebody who I've worked with, this is somebody I trust, or they specialize in the neighborhoods that you're looking in. And I think that's always helpful.
For
and,
sure.
I also think that while I think the personal conversation is great, we all know that, the internet is a wealth of information.
Sure.
Sometimes good and bad.
Yeah.
Right? You can go down those
That's a good
rabbit
point.
holes. and you
WebMD,
can- Right. Yeah, exactly. But, kind of helps you look and get an idea. But nothing beats having that face-to-face conversation where you feel like you've got a partner by your side for the whole thing. And you know what? Whether you're a first-time home buyer or whether you've done it before, you still need that person.
Yes.
You
You
know,
need someone in your corner.
I've bought and sold several houses. I've refinanced, and I'll tell you that it doesn't matter. Every time I go to do something, I still get a little worked up.
And I
a little
think,
nervous.
right, it's been a common misconception too that you find your realtor first.
Yeah,
I think
I
so
was gonna
often
say
we're
the
like, I
same
got to start
thing.
looking and then I'll figure out the mortgage. But I think that's kind of backwards. You're going to be, you said, you marry the house, you date the rate. You kind of date your realtor and you marry your mortgage officer because that's where you're going to pay for 30 years, right?
Potentially, yeah.
But you also want to know, too, before you go out with that realtor. So if you meet with a realtor and the realtor says, well, what price range are you looking in? I'm not sure. Because I haven't met with a loan officer yet to see what I qualify for, right? So, that $800,000 house you may fall in love
We're
with,
all gonna
but
love
you
it.
better be careful because what if you only qualify for the $300,000? So it's obviously great to start with a loan officer, and many realtors will even encourage that and say, listen, because they don't want to spend their time, traipsing around the greater Grand Rapids area and
You've never been
showing you
pre-approved or
homes.
qualified.
dress up.
So you just mentioned that, right? Getting pre-approved, like that is key, and that's a
You're right.
good starting point.
It's kind of like, hey, I've got my approved key to a house. Now let's find the house it goes to. And but without it, it's like, well, what are we doing here? Because we don't know what you can afford. And again, that goes back to, I know for me, and I hope I'm thinking listeners might be the same way, especially if you're a first-time home buyer.
He's hoping you're the same way.
Yeah, I'm assuming, and I'm sorry. But it's so easy, like you said, with technology. You jump on these sites that are like Zillow and others that are, showcasing these beautiful homes in your area. It's so easy to start dreaming because it's your first home. There's so much emotion around it and excitement and the soon-to-be family that's going to be built in that home one day. And,
Picturing Charlie and Johnny and Sparky.
little Sparky running in the backyard. And it's so, it's good to have that emotion, but it's easy for that emotion to become blinding too. And I'm speaking more from experience on that and not realizing it's easy to get onto these sites and then kind of get in touch with a realtor and being able to get that ball started. Now they're going to have partners that they have in other, loans facilities and other, financial companies. But, for listeners that maybe you're already banking at LMCU or, you're looking to establish more of that trust, finding the loan officer first. Make sure that you're in control of what rates and things you're looking for, rather than your realtor that might say, oh, yeah, I work with this person. Well, what if their rate isn't as good as another financial institution? So finding that place that's really going to fit and really is there to partner with your finances like LMCU is. It just, and like you said, we've got amazing partnerships with some great realtors in
Absolutely.
all over our state and in Florida as well. So it's just been really, really cool to see how those partnerships come to be.
And you start those partnerships with a lot of things that start with the word pre. So
Yeah.
I've heard in our conversation so far pre-qualification, and I've also heard pre-approval, and they are different, right? What does that look like? How do we define these things?
Well, a pre-qualification is just that initial meeting with the loan officer where you tell them your story, right? Because, you mentioned how it's not one size fits all, and it's not just all about a 30-year fixed conventional mortgage. There are so many other options, and everybody's story is unique. Yeah. So it's important to sit down with that loan officer, tell them your story, tell them your goals, tell them what you're trying to accomplish, tell them what you make, tell them what your assets are, and they will find the best program and issue a pre-qualification. And then like a pre-approval is more like it's gone through the approval process, it's been reviewed by the people that need to review it and approve the loan, and then the application actually takes place once you actually have found the property that you want. So once you have found the property, that's when the application starts and everything gets the ball rolling, where we're ordering appraisal, we're ordering title work, we're doing all that, and then closing in 30 days or less.
So is
incredible.
it, to simplify
What a
it, is
job.
it kind
That's
of we're talking about the idea, now we're approving the amount, and then now we're approving the house. Is that kind of how that,
Yes,
that
very
goes through?
yes.
Okay.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Very good, Lo. You want a job?
Thank you. You'll have to take it up with my boss.
I'm not the
He's not the boss.
No. You can't take my co-host.
I've been around the block a few times
That's right.
with these things. So.
That's right. Well, and I think this is one of those hard topics to find a stopping point. But I think when we think about just that first few steps for those thinking about first-time home buying, and for listeners, for you to see that there's some really great early on steps. Start that conversation, get that communication started so that you can establish where you need to go next. Is your budget need maybe a little bit of extra help or support? Those types of things are conversations that you can, just like you were saying, Meg, we can start those conversations even a year or two early. I mean, it just is getting that process and knowing what to do. And hopefully for listeners to realize, it's not that hard to just go into a branch, go and talk to someone. They'll set up a quick meeting with you and be able to talk. Sometimes you can even just call on the phone if you'd rather do that, if it's easier and more convenient. So
Well, I think, and just to add on to that, and I think to that point, we know that sometimes that first conversation can be the toughest, the scariest, the most daunting. So, we, in wanting to educate our members, wanting to help them,
You got
have
something
started
exciting.
we've started doing first-time homebuyer seminars.
That's
and
awesome.
Janice leads these, and they have been tremendously accepted and responded to by the membership. So, we've done 3 of them. I think.
Wow.
We've
That's
got
right.
another 2
And
on the books.
from what I
and-
heard, you guys aren't going to brag, but I'm going to brag for you. But it's a kudos to what you've developed. I mean, the last 2, 3 that we've done, really, we've only done like 3 or 4 tops, but they've all been sold out. I mean, people have been coming and wanting to engage with this kind of content and information. And so well done to your team as well for putting that together. I had a chance to sit in on one of the seminars, and I'll tell you, if you're...
Where was my invitation?
We'll get you on the next one.
Okay, thank you.
I had a camera in my hand, so
Got
it's
a little
kind of
FOMO
both.
going on here.
But truly, I mean, the information, what we're talking about on today's podcast is really just a little bit of a sliver of what to expect. So, I mean, definitely for listeners, head to our website. You can find out when our next event is going to be in your community and in your area. We're continuing to bring more and more of these. But again, it's still so new, but yet the success I'm seeing is just incredible.
Yeah,
So
it's been exciting. We are very excited about the response we've received. And, we had one person at our very first seminar. And when we ask at the beginning and we say, so when is everyone thinking about buying? Are you 3 months? No hands. 6 months? Few hands. A year? Most hands go up at that point.
Yeah.
There was one couple there that said that they weren't planning on buying for a year. They got intrigued about some of the information that they heard.
sure.
They talked with a loan officer afterwards, And within 45 days, they were into their new home.
No
They
way.
bought within a month.
Wow.
With zero money down.
With zero money down.
Wow.
And the reason that it was is because they had that myth in their head, I need 20%.
Yeah.
I don't have enough saved yet. And when you have that conversation with the loan officer and they told their story, to Janice's point, it's like, no, you can do this now. You are ready to do this now.
And
So-
that shows
That's
that
so
importance.
cool.
And I think we could almost sum up this whole episode into you're building your A team and bringing your A game. Right? So the
Yeah.
first thing you want to do is you want to go in there and you want to make sure you're on your A game. You know how much you can spend. You know what you need to be left with. And then you find your person that's going to be in your corner. That's
Yep.
awesome.
That is so
Those
cool.
are the first steps. You got it.
Man, well, there's still so much more that we're going to cover in our next podcast episode, so you'll want to tune in next month for that. We're going to be covering what are kind of the next stages. Now that we've kind of established what you need to do to get prepared, let's talk a little bit more about what kind of options are there and get you to the closing table so that you can get into your first time
From A
home.
to Z, would you say?
A to Z.
There you go.
That's right.
I went to preschool
I didn't. No, I'm just kidding. I did.
twice. No, just kidding.
Well, listen, I don't want you guys to leave yet because there's still so much more fun on our show. We've got Are You Smarter Than the Show's Trivia, where today we're going to have Janice in the hot seat. But like we've done in some previous episodes, Meg, I'm going to let you be a phone-a-friend for
Okay.
Janice on one question. And I believe, is it me that's in
You're
the
still
hot
in
seat?
that hot seat.
Oh boy! Well, I'll tell you, it just has been a great first part, and we're gonna get right into this trivia though. It's one of my favorite times.
Yeah. So Janice, you've not been on the show before. You have listened, so you might know the rules a little bit. You're gonna buzz in using your name for this trivia. If you forgot, your name is Janice. This here is Brett. We do have people blank out on that sometimes.
It's happened. Yeah. No big
To the
deal.
best of us. But the great thing is there's no such thing as a loser. So you either win and get to choose. Do you know how much is on the table right now? I'm not
Well,
even...
I think I don't mean to say this, but I think you lost last time.
Yeah, was it me?
Yeah,
Oh.
and unfortunately,
So we're at 50.
we're back to 50. But that's okay because that's $50 I can go
That's
to a
a lot,
nonprofit,
actually.
Yes.
and it's gonna hopefully help. And I'm rooting for you, but at the same time, I'm a little competitive with trivia.
So if Brett were to win, it just rolls over to next episode, and then that person will be playing for $100. So it just it doesn't mean you lose. It just means someone else wins a little bit bigger.
that's exactly right.
That works for me.
So true. Well, and so we'll have 3 questions, and if we need to have a tiebreaker, if we're tied at the end, then that's what we'll go to.
I've prepared.
How do you tie on 3?
So, well,
When there's a cat scratch.
so
Simple math, my friend. Simple math.
yeah, that doesn't really add up, does it? Well,
That's
so
okay,
it's
sorry.
a best out of 3. So
I'm just trying to rattle you before
Yeah.
we start so Janice has a leg
I
up.
like
this.
your game, Meg.
you gotta. Well, you're the one asking the questions, so you can't even like pump me up to get excited. So, all right, let's. Without further
You
ado,
got this, bro. You got this.
there's
rooting
my
for you, Janice.
intimidation factor right here. This music.
It does a little something to your heart rate. I'm not gonna lie.
I
I'm not
thrive.
even playing, and I'm like nervous over here.
All right.
But as we already said, it's hopefully gonna remain spring. So I went with a spring theme for our trivia questions this week.
Love it.
And there's nothing off the table. We're gonna talk animals. We're gonna talk plants. We'll
Okay.
talk lots of things. So.
Boy.
So, for those of you who aren't in Michigan, we have a wonderful place called Frederick Meyer Gardens that has butterflies, and so that kind
I
of
was just
brought
there.
this in. Yeah, it's beautiful. And so, my first question for the two of you is, what months is it? There's typically about 2 months where butterflies are hatching.
Hatching, huh?
Out of their cocoon or chrysalis.
Cocoon.
Chrysalis.
Cool. All right, Brett, I'm going to go for it.
All right.
Okay, 2 months. I'm going to say it's going to be May and June.
That is incorrect, my friend. I am so sorry. Janice got excited after you got this wrong, and I'm thinking she might
I
have
think I
it.
gave some clues away, and that's how the game works. So
Well, like I said, I was just there.
Yeah.
And they are blooming. So or they are. So I'm going to say March and April.
That is correct.
oh
The
man!
newbie for the win.
All
I'm
right,
loving
1
that.
point, 1-0.
All right, see,
This is it. Like I
she
have to
gets
get this point, or yeah, if you get it wrong, okay.
I'm
we
gonna
got
go
this.
multiple choice with this one, which is kind of a nice softer ball for you. How many tulips, I love me some tulips, bloom in the Netherlands each spring? I'm going to give you 3 choices.
Thank goodness, because that could be a lot.
Is it 7 million plus? Is it 5 million plus? Or is it 3 million plus?
I still feel like those didn't help any bit. They're still big numbers.
It is a lot.
Janice.
Yes.
I'm going to say 7 million plus.
And with that, she wipes the table.
Oh
Mr.
my goodness!
No phone a friend even
What?
needed.
Oh.
Meg knew all the answers anyway, so.
Oh my goodness. Well done. That
Thank
was
you.
very quick.
It was, I think, probably record for us.
Yeah, that was well done. That was so good.
I really wanted to do the phone a friend option too. I thought that would be interesting.
Well, you didn't even need that. That's awesome. And truly, congratulations. $50 on the table now, and we'll get that. We'll donate that to a nonprofit that LMC supports, and we'll find out from you which one you would like to support after the show. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Well, man, oh man, I was hoping for a little bit more. I'm so sorry. I let you all down. Just didn't have it in me. Well, for listeners, be sure to tune in to part 2 that's coming next month. Also, I just want to make sure, just a reminder, because I know I need these every once in a while. Last episode, we talked about tax season.
We did.
Don't forget,
We are
April
like-
18th, tax day is coming. So if you were listening to the last episode and you're like, oh yeah, I meant to put that on my calendar, it's coming soon.
It's like literally within a few days from listening to this right now.
That's exactly right. Well, there's so much more to cover, and we're excited to cover that in our next podcast episode. But again, if you loved what you've listened to today, be sure to subscribe to us. Like us. We're on Facebook.
We like you.
We
You
do.
like us?
I hope they
Please?
do. Please. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, of course.
Spotify
Spotify to listen
iHeartRadio.
to it.
Radiar?
Radiar.
iHeartRadio.
That's right. Amazon Music, Google Play, Apple Podcast. I mean,
All the places.
pretty much we can just
We're
say
everywhere.
wherever you listen, we're most likely there.
Sorry.
Well, thank you again for tuning in to another episode of Wallet Wisdom.
Bye-bye now.
Thanks for listening. The information provided in this podcast by Lake Michigan Credit Union is general education or marketing in nature and is not intended to be accounting, legal, tax, investment, financial, or other advice. Statements of individuals are their own, not LMCU's. All topics discussed are information of a general nature and do not address the circumstances of any particular individual or entity. Consult an appropriate professional concerning your specific situation. As of the date of publishing and any future date this podcast is broadcast, all rates, fees, payments, or other specific figures discussed are subject to change and are dependent upon your specific financial situation. All loan products discussed are subject to credit and collateral approval. You alone assume the sole responsibility of evaluating the merits and risks associated with the use of any information or other content in the podcast before making any decisions based on such information or other content. In exchange for listening to the podcast, you agree not to hold LMCU, its affiliates, or any third-party service providers liable for any possible claim for damages arising from any decision you make based on information or other content made available to you through the podcast. For more information on any of the content discussed in this podcast, please visit lmcu.org. Copyright Lake Michigan Credit Union, federally insured by NCUA. Equal housing lender. LMCU, NMLS ID number 442967.